I think the best thing any of us can do right now is just pray for his recovery and pray for their comfort, because God help us, we're in a bad place.
That was an emotionally fraught Scott Jennings, the lone conservative on CNN, who has his own shows and his own podcasts off of CNN as well. He's become a hugely influential voice for what I would consider moderate conservatism. Emotionally fraught and visibly shaken to his core. He had rings under his eyes. You could tell this had affected him. And remember, all of this coverage is happening at the time before we know Charlie Kirk had passed. I'll give CNN the credit. They might have been part of the problem in the past of how we got here, but certainly on the day of Charlie Kirk's shooting, they were doing everything they could to be a responsible news network to inform all Americans that this was an aberration and abhorrent and not something that could continue. They were very responsible in their reporting. Major is that it brings new people into the space of Counter-Strike, right? And they think their opinion matters, and it doesn't. And it brings people who've been away for a while, years, and they come back and they say things and they think their opinion matters, and it doesn't. But they can't help but share their scrub opinions and say ridiculous things. And we had a laugh about some of these over the course of the major. When we were doing the No Majors Club, we were looking at some of the ridiculous threads, and obviously there were a ton of them that were just like fucking absurd, like the one Anders and I were laughing about, where the guy claimed to have invented a whole new style of aiming that pros should probably try. It's just like, for fuck's sake, it's hard to believe it's real. But what I did was, over the course of the major, I took all of
certainly is aimbot. I don't think it's even a question.
Tactical termination.
Oh, the Maywall's gonna confuse him. What do you do now? Melee the Maywall? Through. While also running in front of them? Oh, I mean, it's 100% obvious. That's why I think they're getting. Oh, yeah, let's go sprint up here. Yeah, there we go. Hit that alt button here. Oh, the Diva there? Wow, that's a play. I think their mouse fell off the desk for a second there. Now that you asked that question, I'm kind of curious. What has been their build? Supervisor?
scenes in order to set up the story and kind of introduce you to the different characters is really, really tight writing and really tight filmmaking. And I think it kind of appropriately kind of puts you into the middle of the action. So especially the beginning of this movie, I think is among my favorite like starts of a film.
That's interesting because there's no nice way to put it. I thought the intro to the film sucked ass. I actually couldn't remember the intro. For me, for me, how I expected to remember it was like I remember it pretty much. It's Sam Neill and he does the thing with the kid and the raptor claw. Then he's on an island talking to Richard Attenborough, who definitely didn't have a Scottish accent in my brain. More on that in a moment. Then they're immediately on a helicopter. Yeah, totally. They're immediately on a fucking helicopter, and they're on the island talking to that guy who isn't Charles Dance.
It takes so long to get to the actual
Homer.
I mean, I love Sam Neill, so I adore Sam.
I mean, dude, I love him. I love him in general. Like, I mean, we're gonna have to do, at the mouths of fucking madness and all that.
Yeah, we will. We
talked
about doing that with the Cosmic Horror arc. But I mean, like, there's two actors I have like a very weird soft.
He's in loads of films.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a very weird soft spot for Sam Neill and for Michael Keaton. I don't know why. Just love both of those guys.
Yeah, I can fuck with that. Even though, again, I will say some of Michael Keaton's movies haven't aged particularly well. I will say I love him having a renaissance now. A Birdman, Loki. I love that film.
Oh, it's mega, yeah.
The Founder is also pretty good. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, considering, again, it's just a love letter to fucking corporate America. Like, why did that happen, by the way? Why did we suddenly get, like, just a run of movies where it was, like, The Founder, there was that one about, like, how Air Jordans got made, the one about the BlackBerry, or the one about Flaming Hot Cheetos.
I don't even know any of these movies.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was just like all of it.
Cheetos.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Difficult butching out, mate. He doesn't do anything about it. He still goes out there. He still gets put as an action hero from then on in the film. And then also, by the way, I'm just going to say this right now. Those kids are so fucking insufferable in this film. Right, one of them immediately tells you they're a vegetarian and it's just annoying. Right, by the way, about 90% of the dinosaur attacks happen because that girl just keeps screaming and then run away. If that girl's not in the film, the same bunch of characters have like a chance to get away. It's not as obvious. Like, it's not as many obvious like ridiculous jump scares. Also, think about how badly
annoying. They're intentionally annoying.
Thing, Monty, where you just take all the things that are bad and just decide they're good. Even though, by the way, if those children had been annoying in Revolver, you'd fucking mould, mate. You'd lose your shit completely. But because it's your film from the 90s that you cannot get out of being the kid who went to NASA camp and went to science camp and believed in all the dreams of America and that you'd be on a fucking colony on Mars by now with your family, with clones and teleporters, because you believed all of that. That's why you have to now defend and keep for a shit-ass of this trope taken to an extreme. Because that girl who in the end got caught with that fucking cult in real life, if you know who I'm on about, the blonde-haired girl in Smallville, she used to be a character who did computing stuff, right? By they get a few seasons in, she's just like hacking the NSA and shit from home PCs, mate. And that's just taken as like, well, computer people, they can do anything, can't they? That's like an actual core part of this plot. That is a terrible trope.
That's like another very 90s trope as well.
Yeah,
like
very 90s. I mean, we saw it in The Sneakers, which was a year before this one.
The problem is that you could have had the whole film work, even the natalist part. You could have had all that work just with the kid. The kid was actually pretty decent, the boy. The girl is fucking terrible in this film. Like, she's just fucking ass in the whole film, mate.
I mean, I didn't enjoy any of the story. Once it devolved into the kids being chased by dinosaurs, I was like, wow, this actually fucking sucks so much. This, like, is so not enjoyable for, like, an adult. And like, listen,
but it's not even necessary, Monty. You could have done it so much cleverer.
Oh, yeah.
There could have even been things like maybe you could have even had like someone on the computer who's actually intelligent, by the way. Maybe Samuel L. Jackson's character gets to be redeemed. Maybe he's using the overview and actually he's shutting down parts of the park and he's like, the only chance we've got is we've got to get the T-Rex there. Maybe it'll distract them. Maybe he like brings it in or something. You do something like that, it could maybe make sense. There's no reason the T-Rex. Also, by the way, I'll just throw this last detail in and this will blow your mind. Remember what happens, Monty, if you're sitting in a car and there's a cup of water, and the T-Rex just walks. No, but the T-Rex is running towards you, and you're like, no, mate. It's just fucking, he's got his fucking, what's he got, little loafers on? Give me a break. That end of the movie fucking blows, mate. There's parts I do like, I can go on that in a minute, but that part blows. That part blows.
I think the
That
entire
takes me straight out of it.
I agree. I think the entire ending sequence is weak, but I mean, there's this is Michael Crichton, right? So Michael Crichton, what he did was he took pop science concepts of the day. He did this repeatedly. The longer his
Hanging and a jumping.
They're bouncing off the roofs and the windows.
Swing, swing, sweet chariots.
Lydia dropped her book on the bed and stared out into the hall.
I hate her. Did you hear the bomb she fucking dropped? I'm gonna call her dumb shit Beth. Lydia, seriously? Suicides? Oh, Becca, relax. Every college campus has a few suicides. Yeah, but in the same room? Really? Who cares? It's not our room. Yeah, I guess.
I turned to study the little window in our room.
Can you imagine climbing out that tiny window and jumping? You'd be alive for at least 5 seconds before you hit the ground. Oh, fuck, Becca, can you not?
Lydia glanced at the window and visibly shuddered.
You know I fucking hate heights, and just talking about that shit's raising my blood pressure. We could always move into this room. That one has a window on each wall. Fuck you. Okay, but seriously, think about it. It would take a lot of commitment to squeeze out that tiny window. Yeah, well, remember, people were apparently smaller back then.
Lydia mumbled as she pushed her bed further away from the window.
Okay, these are some catty bitches.
Yeah, peeking her head out from the room. She held up her hands as if to say, what happened?
Someone thinks they're funny.
I answered her out loud. She shook her head and disappeared back into our room. I knelt down on the floor and brought my head down to the carpet, peering under the door crack. It was the first time I had seen into the corner room. 733 was definitely a supply closet. There were chairs stacked along one wall and bed frames along the other. A few rotting mattresses were piled under one of the windows, and a thick layer of dust covered everything in the room. The windows were absolutely huge, which was something you couldn't really tell by looking up at the building. They were open as always, and I could definitely see how someone could easily climb through them to the outside ledge. The room didn't look like it had been disturbed in a couple of decades, which sent a shudder racking through my body. The moonlight, which had been providing enough light to see into the room, suddenly vanished. I saw only pitch black inside. Blinked rapidly, trying to adjust my night vision. Squeezed my eyes shut, and when I opened them, a large yellow eye was looking back at us to come back and take a seat. With all the pomp and circumstance of a meeting of Parliament, Craig cleared his throat and made his diagnosis. This is time for Hunter to lock in. This is a slow fastball straight down center plane. Bases loaded.
What you're dealing with, ladies, is a very angry ghost.
And the crowd goes wild.
Is that your professional opinion, Craig?
Lydia said. I shot her a look.
Pretty much. A vengeful spirit. A spirit?
I very much doubted that that's what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
Answered one of the not Craigs.
That goes to the layperson. God, fuck this guy. Jesus Christ.
Lydia groaned.
What time is it supposed to get here? Actually, 20 minutes ago.
It was another half hour before we resigned ourselves to the fact that Mr. Moen had snuck around us as usual. We went to the front office hoping to beg again for an appointment with him anyway. The woman at the admin desk regarded us coldly.
Tom isn't coming in today, or any other day for that matter. He quit yesterday. Looks like you won't be harassing him anymore. We weren't harassing him. We just desperately needed to talk to him. We still do. Well, you won't get any of his personal information from me.
What? So this guy is like, these students of mine won't leave me alone.
I mean, he's like
I'm going to quit my job.
He's like going around campus. He's like, oh. He's like going around. It's just like, what the fuck, man? Oh, God.
To the degree his secretary's like, yeah, you can't bother him no more.
Guess what?
Like,
you
it
won't
made
harass
sense
him anymore.
to her that he would quit his job to not talk to
you realize you're a
students.
tenured professor, right?
I would 100% assume that he was having an affair with them.
Yeah.
Ella shook her head but had nothing to say. When the doors finally opened on floor 7, we saw a quiet, deserted hallway. I ran toward my room with Alice right behind me. Rounding the corner, I threw open my door hoping it wasn't locked, and it wasn't. Lydia looked back at me. And for one breathless moment, a cruel glimmer of hope crossed over her tear-streaked face. But it was too late. The next second, she leaned forward so slightly that she was gone. She screamed the entire way down. Alice ran to the ledge where Lydia had been while I stood motionless. She stuck her head out the window and looked down just as a different kind of screaming started from the bottom floor. Alice closed her hand over her mouth and pulled her head back into the room as tears of shock ran down her ghost-white face. The screaming from outside got louder as more people saw what remained of my best friend on the cold pavement. I leaned back against the dresser and slumped to the floor. A falling death. Lydia never wanted a falling death. I absentmindedly picked up one of the pictures that were strewn all over.
Walker always knows how to do it.
Yeah. What a nice like haunted college room 733.
Room 733. Nice, quick characters. The build-up between the two roommates was great. I love the emphasis that she puts too of like, oh, isn't that just a horrible way to fall? And that ends up being her fate. It's like such a nice little, and it's not dramatized. You know, it isn't drawn out. It's just a little thing. Yeah. The only thing I would say is that it's a bit too convenient. Like, you want to go look at theology books, and then you get the.
Well, they needed. The excuse was like something. We needed them to be away to run into the library girl.
Totally.
That, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's still fun. Still had a great time, and also too just tragic. Very fast too at the end. Just kind of like a nice punch in the gut. You know?
Yeah.
Was really
just
fun.
Like she last moment something compelled her. It's like forcing her out. She has drawings of her like going to kill her family. It's like, so it's an excuse to everyone else of like, oh well, they were clearly mentally deranged. That's why they took their own life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like she's being forced to draw all of them, and then she has the tears streaked face. It's like never let her.
If you were in total isolation, but you're in total isolation like she is, right? But and you hear the music and all this stuff, and the only caller is this person talking about their dreams in that manner. Would you just be like, I'm not going to answer anymore, or would you have it just for the human connection?
I mean, you have nothing to do up there. I mean, now she's got Dan, sure, but I hope he dies. So I think you would answer, even if it was weird. You know, it's also part of the job, right?
I don't know if I'd want that kind of like spiritual crisis, like existential spiritual crisis. You know what I mean?
The other option is you just stay in your lighthouse above the trees and never interact with anyone.
I feel like I'd rather go insane and just make up people. I'd call the radio station myself and talk to myself.
You do that anyway. It's like
that does feel about what it's like on the show. So
let's keep in mind this is coming from the guy who does card
money. Which, if I heard that on the radio, I would change the station immediately. All right, part 3.
Part 3. I want to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Tushy. Tushy is the luxury bidet that your bathroom's been missing. And over 2 million butts love Tushy, and it's not hard to see why. I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you don't have a bidet, you mean less than me. I did not have a bidet for a long time. I thought that they were silly, and then as soon as Tushy sent me one, I now am someone whose life matters. I'm not kidding. There's a few household inventions that have definitively changed my life, and Tushy's bidet is one of them. I now feel like an animal anytime I have to use someone's bathroom who doesn't have one. And you know this is a personal endorsement because this is far too aggressive for them to pay me to say. Not only are Tushy bidets more hygienic, but people who have made the switch to Tushy use up to 80% less toilet paper. And less toilet paper means more money saved, less clogged toilets, and less gross bathroom experiences. Since the bidet does most of the cleaning and you use the toilet paper to dry off. And of course, Tushy therefore reduces things like irritation or tearing. Tushy is also super easy to use and install. Depending on the model you... What can I say? I was bored.
Thanks, Evelyn. You're a very thoughtful grandchild.
After the morning weather broadcast, at which time he joined me to announce his return to the station, we turned off our microphones to catch up. I hardly believe it needs saying that catching up for us didn't only involve the mundane. He told me about his procedure in vivid detail, almost excitedly. And to be honest, I was very interested. Delicately, he tilted his ear to either side to show the scars behind his ears and the surgical dressing still kept on the inside. It was no wonder he still spent most of his time trying to read my lips. Even if his ears had been successfully repaired, he couldn't hear a damn thing with cotton stuffed in there. Eventually, we exhausted talk of scalpels and stitchels, and he asked me what sort of bizarre things happened he had missed while on his vacation.
Seek's still acting up. The pipes were a little rusty the other day, though. I think that was making it a bit weepier than usual. Did you get any? I'm almost picturing the fog as like the Evil Dead fog that kind of like rolls in very quickly.
Yeah.
Like even the way that it's just the way that Evelyn described it earlier, where it's like, oh, it moves like it has footsteps, like it's a creature roaming. It isn't just like, oh, there's a fog report. But I mean, maybe it is. It can be like, calculated like the weather. So, anyway, I was supposed to leave at 10.
Daniel reminded me he was only a part-timer, whereas full-time took on a whole new meaning for my eternal presence here.
It's almost 9 o'clock already. You don't think I'll go overtime if anyone finds out we were dicking around the woods, do you? There'll be no dicking. But I'll pay the grocery guy extra to bring the donuts if you require compensation.
I couldn't believe I was actually going to do this. I couldn't believe I was letting Dan do this. Honestly, I don't know what scared me more. The thought of walking into the woods at night and leaving the station abandoned, or the thought of going alone and leaving Dan with the responsibility of taking my place. Now, I'm not saying he's incompetent, but I'm almost sure a wild badger could run across the radio console and operate it just as good as he does. He has a lot to learn, is what I mean. We put our plan into motion, recording all of our segments one after the other and making a long automatic playlist including those files. With any luck, it would sound just as genuine as live conversation. By the time that was finished and the radio was set to play on its own until just before sunrise, Daniel and I raided the closet for flashlights, water bottles, and a first aid kit just in case. I hoped a number of bars in the corner. Out here, with a wall of trees all around us and a seemingly endless forest through the mountains, it was dangerous not to have some kind of connection with the outside world. I watched the bars disappear as we continued to walk, the wet leaves squeaking under our feet.
I don't think I've ever been out here. Not this late, at least.
Daniel was flashing his light on the ground, then up to the trees at eye level. I hated when he did that. I had some hidden fear that he'd shine the light up suddenly illuminate something terrifying.
You do know your way around here, don't you?
I was grasping at memories. I left town so young and stayed away for so long that any recollection of playing in the woods was lost to me at this point. However, I did remember returning. There were bits and pieces of a memory in my brain, but it seemed to melt, as if some of those thoughts ran like water straight out of my mind.
I was here about a year ago, but I can't memorize past that well. But it's not as if we can't see the radio tower for miles away.
Daniel shrugged, nodding his head and accepting that answer. He looked back at our metal and wooden sanctuary, which sat so tall on the hill with a huge tower looming above it that it would be near